Portia dies by swallowing hot coals? Of course that's what it means because it's in Plutarch. But this is lazy interpretation. It's a claim that not even Plutarch found credible. Shakespeare's Julius Caesar will never be fully and deeply understood as long as we keep giving Plutarch precedence over the play itself when the play should be taken on its own merits. To start, Shakespeare doesn't say hot coals, he says fire. Let's look deeper behind the surface and get to the real meaning. We'll start by examining what Portia's name means. Portia was the name of Brutus's wife in Plutarch, but in the folio it's Portia. There's an argument to be had that her name should not be said as Portia, but as Portia, but I will keep the custom so as not to cause confusion and call her Portia. Portia and Julius Caesar should be interpreted as portion and portico. The marriage of Brutus and Portia represents the Greco-Roman world. Marcus Brutus represents the Roman world, as his name Marcus means dedicated to Mars, the patron god of the Romans, and Brutus should be understood as Brute. See my video on this. So we have portion, that is the Greco portion of Greco-Roman. But how do we get Portia as Greco with the word portico? A portico was the colonnade in the agora of ancient Athens where the Stoic philosophers met. This was also called a stoa, hence how the Stoics got their name. Let's just keep this in mind as we go to examine the exchange between Brutus and Cassius regarding Portia's death. Then the suffix a is added to make it a feminine name. Now let's examine the exchange where her death is brought up in Act 4, Scene 3. Brutus says, "O Cassius, I am sick of many griefs." And Cassius responds, "Of your philosophy you make no use if you give place to accidental evil." This is commonly interpreted by scholars to refer to Stoicism, and they're correct. We can tie this statement with Portia meaning portico, the place where the Stoic philosophers met, and it's after this that Brutus breaks the news that Portia is dead. The Greco philosophy is dead, but why does Brutus claim this? Brutus's explanation? Impatient of my absence, and grief that young Octavius and Mark Antony have made themselves so strong? For with her death that tidings came. With this she fell distract, and her attendant's absence swallowed fire. Let's break this down. Brutus, as I showed in another video, is the gospel of ancient Roman culture reborn through the Renaissance, as we should understand his name as meaning brute, not brute. The Renaissance took off in Italy, but it never had any life in Greece. Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar is addressing Shakespeare's time, not Julius Caesar's time. Octavius and Mark Antony are the representation of that rebirth. Octavius is understood as octave, a musical octave, and the octave of Easter. And Mark Antony, which is a completely made-up name by Shakespeare. His name was Marcus Antonius. Mark should be understood as Mark, and Antony is antonomasia, but we will have to wait for another video to discuss that. The Greek experience is that the Italian peninsula had a cultural rebirth, but not Greece. And with the death of Greek philosophy, tidings came. That is the gospel of Paul, the glad tidings, and thus Christianity. And with this, Greece becomes confused in its identity of ancient Greek philosophy and Christianity. And with no attendance, no one to continue and cultivate Greek philosophy in Greece, she swallowed fire. And it's this swallowing of fire where the confusion lies. What does it mean? Let's turn to the Stoics, primarily Zeno of Citium. Cicero, in his work on the nature of the gods, tells us how Zeno of Citium defined nature. Zeno then defines nature by saying that it is artistically working fire, which advances by fixed methods to creation. For he maintains that it is the main function of art to create and produce, and that what the hand accomplishes in the production of the arts we employ is accomplished much more artistically by nature. That is, as I said, by artistically working fire, which is the master of the other arts. This artistically working fire is what was swallowed. That is, Greece gave up its nature that was identified in ancient Greek philosophy. The fire, the artistic ideas, ceased to be ignited and produced. Greece turned in on itself first by Christianity, then by the conquest of the Ottomans. And this takes us to what seems to be a second account of Portia's death when Brutus converses with Messala. Missal is another name for Missal, the book containing the service of the Mass for the whole year, a Mass book. That is, the church allegiance. And by adding the a suffix, the name is made feminine per Latin. The Roman world has heard nothing from Greece, and neither has the church. That is, Greece is silent during the Renaissance. Yet, Missala, symbolically the devotion to the church, gives another reason. He says for certain she is dead, and by strange manners. What he means are the Ottomans. The Ottomans rule over Greece, and these are the strange manners he refers to. We also get a reference about the Ottoman rule when Brutus and Cassius have their contentious meeting before revealing Portia's death. Cassius says that you have wronged me doth appear in this. You have condemned and noted Lucius Pella for taking bribes here of the Sardians, wherein my letters, praying on his side because I knew the man was slighted off. Brutus responds, you wronged yourself to write in such a case. Lucius means light. Pella was the capital of ancient Macedonia where Alexander the Great was born. Brutus says no to Alexander being put above Caesar, not that Alexander himself wasn't a bright light, but the Macedonians are gone and the Greeks are Christianized and ruled by the Ottomans. But who are the Sardians? The word Sardar, originally any of the various Muslim countries, especially under the Ottoman Empire. Greece is completely silent in Shakespeare's time and during the Renaissance because they are ruled over by the Ottomans. Julius Caesar is a polemic against Christianity in favor of the ideals of the Renaissance. For those who keep trying to pigeonhole Shakespeare's Julius Caesar into the Plutarch accounts, then the true meaning of Julius Caesar will continue to remain out of their reach, and they'll continue to promote absurd interpretations like swallowing burning coals. Shakespeare had his own agenda, and the play should be taken on its own merits. After all, if Shakespeare is as great as the scholars say, then why would he simply parrot another's work? Thank you for watching and listening.